do this first. All right. How's it going?
It's going as good as it can be after awakening loss like we had against the Lions.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. I was over at my parents watching it, and it was I don't know. I didn't find myself getting as upset as I thought I would after a performance like that.
Yeah,
which is surprising for me. But
yeah,
but I mean, I guess it was one of those things where one of those games was close enough where you were expecting, like we normally do, for us to come back and find a way to get it done. But no, this time around, it just didn't happen. Too many miscues, too many coaching mistakes, which we'll kind of get into when we do our ups and downs segment. But
this game, yeah,
I don't know. Overall, frustrating performance. No, not the Lions were the better team. Tried telling people, watch out for the Lions. This ain't the same old Lions, and they proved that yesterday. They didn't screw it up like we did. Dan Campbell is an aggressive coach, as we saw.
He is
multiple times yesterday, going for it on fourth downs, the fake punt, the Penei Sewell toss in probably the most important play of the game.
That was killer, man.
I mean, and that's like Dan Campbell, you can tell is coaching like a guy who knows that he's kind of the scapegoat if things don't go well.
Yeah.
I think he realizes that if they have, if they finish like they did last year, they would just say, oh, it's a coach problem. We got the players. Let's fire and move on.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people believe in Dan Campbell, the head coach, but I think that's kind of what their thoughts were. So I think he's coaching like a guy who has got nothing to lose. And Kevin O'Connell, I thought, which we'll kind of get into him more later, I thought Kevin O'Connell was coaching like a guy who I don't even know.
First year.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, I love Campbell's coach. Well, I don't know if it works, but I do like he just goes in. He has just that big ball mentality, and he does it all the time. And there's times where he doesn't convert on these fourth downs, and he keeps doing it anyways. Like I've seen, and that's the bad part about him is I have seen the Lions like lose games because of him doing that. So that's like the negative side, but it is fun to watch a coach come in and just like always go for it on fourth down and all that.
But it just sucks when it's against your team and you know that
and it works for them.
They're gonna get it.
That time it works for them for the most part.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, obviously we'll kind of get into more of the more in depth with this when we go through our ups and downs, like I said. But any other just initial thoughts on what happened?
It was just, I mean, it was a reality check for me. And probably a lot of fans. I mean, you're against the Lions. This is a team that we usually beat. I was definitely expecting us to beat them. And I mean, they just exploited, and we've seen it time and time again of recent, but they just exploited our defense. And it was kind of like a reality check. Like, damn, our defense sucks. Like, I will be honest to say, like, our defense sucks. I like our talent. And, some people say it's the players or is it Ed Donatel, and just the coaching and all that. But in my opinion, like I don't think we have so right now I believe we're the worst scoring defense in the NFL right now.
I think we're the worst at everything on defense in the NFL.
Pretty much.
But why run against us when you could just throw for however much you want?
Right. Wide open passes to wide receivers. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think what was I say? It's just I don't think our defense is going to be able to hold. Or I'm afraid if our defense can hold going forward here and into the playoffs and everything, because you're the 32nd worst defense. That's what I was going to say, is 32nd worst defense. And if you look at our roster, I feel like our talent doesn't show like the worst defensive talent in the league. And if that's the case, I think some of it has to be definitely on Ed Donatel. A lot of people would say everything's on Ed Donatel. Some people even say A lot of it's on the players, but I do feel like a majority of it has. I feel like if you had another guy in there with a different game plan on defense, we'd see a little bit more out of it. But it is going to be hard to continue moving forward and expect to make it far in the playoffs when our defense is allowing
Mhm.
these wide open touchdowns. And it's
Yeah.
just a huge concern.
Mhm.
This is a real one of the best seasons that we've actually ever seen in our lifetime. Um, from our own perspective, specifically with the record. But I got to be honest right now that I do not feel like it does not feel like the 2009 Vikings, and it does not feel like the 2017 Vikings, and it all is because of our defense is just not there at all. So
Right.
they're not doing their job to make it happen. It just feels like our offense is one of the best offenses I think we've seen, especially from talent. And obviously, we'll get into some more of these players because some of it's fucking insane.
Mhm.
But yeah, man.
But I mean, since you mentioned defense, let's start with our first down. It is that defense. So yeah, I mean, obviously, and when we talked to Wabi, I'd put a lot of blame on Donatel. Wabi thought it was more the players. I know I saw him tweeting yesterday. It's the players, not the plays. Just remember that. But I mean, I get that to an extent, like because it's a defense and a lot of players that had played in that 4-3 leading up to this year,
Right.
and now in one off season, you're expecting them to switch it up, right?
Right.
So I see what he means. Like it's players trying who don't do this defense, trying to sculpt themselves into this defense. And the only person that really came, a few players that came from a defense like this were Zadarius Smith, who until the knee injury really started affecting him, like I think it is now, was amazing,
Right.
and Harrison Phillips coming from Buffalo. And we see what Harrison Phillips has been doing. And it's been, he's been playing phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is trying to learn this new defense. So I see what they mean. But also, it's just where I think it's a scheme deal is just the fact that the corners just give so much cushion. We've talked about it at nauseum. Any quarterback in the NFL can complete passes when we can't get pressure because
Mm-hmm.
of injuries / people learning the new defense, whatever you want to say, and just no pressure on or no close coverage on the corners. They're giving 10, 12 yards of cushion. So
And
as
then and we're
we've
still
talked.
allowing these big plays.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And I know I was watching Purple for the Win the other day, and he said, why not? And that's kind of goes into what I want to say about what Kevin O'Connell said today. Why not try something? Try like you always talk about. Try sending more pressure. Try playing press
That's what
coverage.
we need to do.
What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to give up big plays and touchdowns and yards. What have we been doing so far? Giving
Giving
up
big
big
plays.
plays
These
and
last few
touchdowns and
weeks,
yards.
man.
So why not give something new a shot? And Kevin O'Connell said in his press conference today, he's not, he said, I don't foresee any coaching changes, which, is fair. First season, you're 10-3. Everything's, you're still in the driver's seat for the division. But he did say it's like we're looking at everything and anything we can to improve this defense. And I think that's where it all starts is he needs to, if you're not going to change play callers, at least sit down and have a talk with Donatel. Be like, what can we do? Talk to Pettin, who's been a defensive coordinator before. And is it Mike Smith? Is that his name? For Green Bay, who worked with who's Zadarius Smith's coach over there.
I think
Sit down
so.
with these guys and be like, what are we going to do? We got to do something. He said, and then Kevin O'Connell also said, you can't change the scheme this late in the season. That's fair. But you got to make something else work because what's happening right now just isn't working.
Yeah,
We
like
send 5 guys and we still can't get pressure against I mean, the Lions offensive line is good, but they're still banged up yesterday. It's
yeah.
just something needs to change. And I don't know if and obviously at this point, like Kevin O'Connell said, you're probably not going to change the coach, but something with the scheme needs to change. Or maybe the players need to step up. Who really knows? But I don't know. It's just, if it keeps going like this, and the fact that we've been making big time plays and, been staying in these games, keeping them close and winning, it's really hidden a lot of the defense. But just the last 4 weeks, you have the Cowboys game and then this against what is a good Lions offense.
Right.
But it's really exposing things right now. And it's what every other team is going to go. I mean, that's why we're so good against the run, because why run against us when you can throw? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, the touchdown to Willie or Jameson Williams gave him his first touchdown of the career and you tweeted out about it after we traded back or whatever. The Lions picked him with their 12th pick, ends up scoring his first catch and first touchdown of his entire career right on our heads. That was inexcusable. And then the same with the Chark one. It's just for the last 4 weeks, we have been allowing these huge touchdown plays ever since that Cowboys game, man. There's that. And yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I just think I don't really know what else we can do for defense besides change anything. I mean, you're already pretty much last in the NFL. Like, who cares if you change something up around? I don't know.
Right.
Or just
And then
run some more
I think there
blitzes.
was
I
a
don't
couple
really know.
times we actually tried getting a little more aggressive yesterday, and it seemed to work. I know there
Earlier
was
on
one play
too.
where Zadarius Smith started on the outside, and right at the snap, he kind of came around, lined up over the center, and he got pressure. So, but you got like we've said ad nauseum for weeks. You just got to do something because what's happening right now isn't working. And when you get against a team that knows what they're doing in the playoffs, we saw it against the Lions. That's a talented offense, and look what they did to us. So,
Right, right. And you've made a really good point of, I think, I don't know if it was last week's podcast, but just about how their defense or how our defense has been, um what's that called? We've been so we have been I can't I'm losing it. Uh all right, never mind. I'll come back to that.
yeah, but it's frustrating and it's hard to watch. And obviously, we know we're not. It's I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. And I think again, I do think it's a combination of both, but also it's just I would like to see us try. Like if we try to be more aggressive and we're still just getting burned, we just can't get pressure or what have you. Then you can start to look at okay, what are the players doing wrong in this situation, and maybe they just don't fit this defense. Who really knows? But I don't know, man. Something needs to change. Obviously, this is going to be the big talking point for this team until we end up, get to the playoffs and end up getting kicked out of the playoffs. Maybe it's gonna be the talking point about this team is what to do with this defense, and it's kind of a nice
Totally
change. And I'm
agree.
going to talk about that change a little bit later on when it comes to the narrative surrounding this team. But yeah, man, defense. I mean, Jared Goff put up 330, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't get to him one time. What more is there to say?
Oh yeah.
It's frustrating
Oh
to
yeah,
watch.
yeah, yeah. That's what I want to say was that the lack of or the turnovers were covering up our mistakes on defense. And that's holds so true because I think what Dallas we didn't have any turnovers, and this was another game that we didn't have any turnovers. And it's like if we don't have any turnovers, the offense just scores on us the whole time, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good point that you made last week. And I mean, it just holds true. It's covering up a bad defense. And if we do not create turnovers, like that's what we have to hope happens. But I mean, turnovers is kind of like a lucky thing sometimes. So it's hard to expect
Mm-hmm.
something like that to happen.
Right, for sure.
But
But I mean, players like knowing, like, watching tape, knowing what routes to jump, like that's different than knowing how to play within the scheme of a defense. So
right,
is
right.
it players not fitting the scheme? Is it scheme? Is it trying to fit scheme to players? Who really knows? Something needs to change. And that's that. Any other thoughts on defense before we move on to our first up? We got to
No.
talk some positives here.
We'll talk some positives, but first, I just wanted to give a heads up that we are giving this away at the end of the show. So yeah, I mean, we'll let you know when that happens. But let's jump into
Our
some
first up,
positives here.
the greatest wide receiver in the NFL right now, Justin Jefferson.
What a
A very,
beast!
since with the defense and the loss, very quiet 11 catch, 223-yard game, and no one's talking about it just because of everything else that happened with this team.
Right,
But
right, right. I do
Justin
want to also,
Jefferson proved again why he is the best receiver in football.
yeah,
I
he's
mean,
so
what
good.
more
And
is there we need to really say about him?
well,
Just
the offense in general, like that was one thing. So that's what's obvious to me was our offense can get it done. We have a great offense.
score
Yeah,
fast.
I do wish we didn't always like need to score when we're behind. Cause that's just even in this game, it was like as soon as we were behind, now we're starting to march downfield, whatever. It keeps happening. But man, our whole offense did pretty well, other than we'll get into the one negative, I guess, but especially in the passing game. It went really well, and Justin Jefferson is absolutely insane, just like you said. And I did. Hey, by the way, I said Justin Jefferson was going to get a touchdown, but I did call at least 150 yards on Justin Jefferson. But I also called a win that was going to be over 10 points. I do want to say that Justin Jefferson had a 91.1 PFF grade as well in this game. So I mean, this guy is as elite as they get, and man, and let's actually, I'll even since we're talking about him, we can even talk about the out of bounds that he didn't actually have,
So
because
what,
that
at
would
that
have
point,
he would
that's
have
going to be another 30 yards and a touchdown added on to
another
what he
30.
had.
Yeah, that was my touchdown and 30 more yards added on to that. And that would have been huge because we would have we probably would have saved like at least 30 seconds, I think, from I don't know. I think we had at least a few
Yeah.
more plays until that
Yep.
next touchdown. Um so yeah, I mean that was big, and it kind of sucks cuz once they blow the whistle, even though he was gone, like when they blew the whistle, like he was already going to be gone, but obviously, you blow the whistle, the defense they quit
Yeah.
obviously, so you
Yep.
can't replay it and you can't do any of that. But that sucked that they just whistled him out, cuz that was insane.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not much more you need to say. Justin Jefferson is just man among boys out there. So
Yeah, he's a beast.
hard to cover. Got to find a way to keep him. Our next down is another coach, and this one there's a lot to unpack here. I love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's the right coach for the job. I think he's going to have a very successful career, as we're
Yes.
seeing. I think the attitude he's brought to this team, as we talked about at nauseum throughout this season, is what has led to that 10-2 record, and that just the toughness and grit at the end of games and whatnot. But just as an offensive play caller, some decisions he's made, like yesterday, I understand the Delvin Cook jump pass to an extent. Maybe not in that situation. First drive of a game when you're trying to maybe trick them in the red zone, fine. Near the end, maybe if you need a spark, fine. And I get it. Everyone thinks, oh, they're going to run the football, so trying to draw them up. Delvin jumps up, pops the pass over, and I know O'Connell said it was some execution, but end of the half, when you're winding clock, you have a chance to tie the game. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, who's amazing in the red zone. You have TJ Hawkinson. You could just do a different type of run play. I just don't understand it in that point. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was frustrating to me. And then just the onside kick. I mean, maybe that's him not trusting the defense when he could have just kicked it deep. I don't know. It's just a few things where, I mean, we're not the coach, obviously. We don't know. I mean, he explained it himself, and he kind of, just said like, I felt like they were the best. He said, I felt like the play call was good on the jump pass. Just it wasn't executed right by the offensive line. But I just don't like seeing those plays in those spots when you have so much talent. You could just do a routine play and probably still score. So,
Yeah.
but I just feel like he was outcoached by Dan Campbell. I feel like Dan Campbell is kind of has that aggressiveness we want Kevin O'Connell to show, but like I said, still love Kevin O'Connell. I love how he, at the end of the game stood up and just took all the heat or answered all the questions. But there's a few things that I think yesterday could have led to a division clinching win. We just didn't get there, and I think a lot of it was because of some of the decisions he made in this game.
Yeah, I mean, of course, again, he's a rook. I don't know if you call it rookie, freshman, coach, whatever you want to call him, first year head coach. So he's going to have his ups and downs, especially in those situations. And did you mention the 2-point conversion?
I did not.
So that was another thing, which I don't mind. Like that takes some balls. We didn't need it. Obviously, you could play it safe. And what we were down, it was 21-13 at the time, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted a chance to be down by 6.
Yep.
I didn't like the play call there though, because
Adam Thielen's not very fast anymore.
Yeah, and not just that, it's just like, I don't know, if you're gonna do something like that, I think you should just make sure the ball gets into the end zone. If you're gonna throw the ball, like try to throw it into the end zone. I feel like we do that all the time. And I don't know if that's Kevin O'Connell or if it's Kirk's decision or even the wide receivers route. I don't know, but we just seem to throw the ball like right before the first down a lot.
Yeah,
And like
and
little
it's just
2-yard passes right
they don't
before the
work.
first down.
Like
No, they
even the
never
middle of the
work.
field, those little screens that we try can't work just because Kirk's got that slow release on those. So because at first I thought Thielen was going to get in, but he just I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of fizzled out
I
there.
mean,
But
overall, I love what Kevin O'Connell is doing. There's no question about it. This was a game that he was outcoached. And I do hope as a head coach, he figures out something we can do with this defense. That's his next task. 100%. You are 10-2 going into the playoffs as a number 2 seed right now. Very good chance that we're the number 2 seed as long as stuff doesn't hit the fan now, which I don't think it will.
San Francisco's looking pretty.
Yeah, San Francisco's looking pretty good. We'll see if Purdy can hold it up. But
right.
He had that's a great freshman game out of him, our first game out of him. But yeah, I mean, I think that's his big test. We talked about it after the loss to the the Cowboys, and then we're coming back for the Patriots. He said this is his big first test is can we bounce back? I think his first test, especially as a leader, is how do you talk to your defense? How do you switch that defense? How do you talk to your coordinators? How do you switch that up? Because I love his style of leadership, but is that style of leadership also going to work on to get everybody on your defense? And
Yeah.
like, I don't
Well,
know.
like
I hope
right.
so.
And like
But
sometimes I feel like he gets too, I mean, obviously I know he doesn't call defense, but it's like too cute and too creative on offense and not nearly creative enough on defense.
yeah, and I like his creativity. Obviously, it's not always gonna work. Sometimes it does. But and he's only gonna get better as he goes on. But yeah, man, the defense is so bland and it's so boring. It's the opposite of him, and it makes sense. I mean, you got a guy who's 3 times your age running the defense. Uh, so obviously there's going to be a little bit different. There's no way in my mind that they have 2 different ways of running teams or running a defense or whatever. And I don't know. I think that is the big step for him is what is Kevin O'Connell going to do to change this defense? Like there's not very many chances in his career where he's going to be 10-3 at this point. At
Mhm.
least, I mean, I hope it is. I hope he does.
Right.
But how many times are you going to have a chance at the number 1 seed, number 2 right now, but hopefully there is a chance that it's a small chance now with this loss against
Yeah.
Lions, I guess.
And Philadelphia is just good.
Yeah, and
It's a really good
Philadelphia is
football
just
team.
good, but still, you don't have this many opportunities. That's why it's like, man, I understand if you're this good, you shouldn't make any changes on your defense. I know he will not do anything to make a massive change, like
Right.
fire Donatel, like we're all calling for.
Yeah.
But
It could be a waste of a good season.
it could be a waste of a good season because of something like that. Like, I don't know, as a leader, it seems savage to be like, hey, this isn't going to work. We're 10-3, but you are the weakest link. We are 10-3 and we have the 32nd out of 32 defense,
Right.
especially where with point scoring for sure. I
Yeah.
think a PFF gives us a little bit of better grade, but still, man. So I don't know. It's Achilles heel of this team. It wasn't as we got our ass beat by the Eagles, we got our ass beat by the Cowboys, but it was not as impaired. There's something about you lose to the Lions the way we did, and it's just like a reality check. Like, damn,
Yeah.
okay, like Eagles, okay, get whooped by the Cowboys, okay, Lions, no. We can't
Yeah.
let that happen.
Right.
So I
But
don't. So I think that's his next step. Figure that
yeah.
out, and I don't
Mhm.
know what
And
you're going to do.
so far the guy's been really good at responding to adversity. So I think
Yeah,
he's gonna get it figured out. It's just you don't got a ton of time right now. So
yeah.
it's
Oh,
kind
I
of
know.
learning on
It's
the fly, which is kind of what this team's been doing since the
right.
start of the season. So
Best thing for him though is guess what? We're pretty much clinched. Like especially after this game next Saturday, if we clinch, we're in the playoffs. So you could probably, if you really wanted to, you have a few weeks to try maybe a couple new things, and you're still in playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to get good seating and you want a home field advantage, all that stuff, which I agree. I still want us to do that, but at the end of the day, we want to go into that playoffs knowing that we can beat any team out there
Yeah.
because I don't care about your seeding. I don't care about getting the bye or whatever. It's all about you should be able to beat any team that faces
Mhm.
you. The team that wins the Super Bowl, a lot of times that means that they can probably beat any team out there. So you
Yeah.
should be able to go into playoffs confident with that more than worrying about what seed and
Yeah.
stuff you're in
And I
probably.
feel like it's just for now throughout the rest of the season, no matter what happens, just because the team's gonna be playing, we're gonna be that team going into the playoffs that everyone's like, "Ooh, I hope the Vikings get this seed so we can play them." We're gonna be that team, and I think Kevin O'Connell needs to use that. Like nobody and people are gonna want to play us because of how we play defense and what we do
Yeah.
here and there. So yeah,
Right.
but
And hopefully our defense knows that. Hopefully
moving
Don.
forward, this is the big change I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So all the fan base universally says this defense is not good enough. The defense is the problem with the team, which is finally it's kind of a refresher. We can actually say I think everybody kind of feels the same way now about our next up, and that is quarterback Kirk Cousins. Nobody's talking about him anymore. No one's saying he's not the reason we're not winning football games.
100% not.
People are saying he's the one keeping us afloat now. Him and Justin Jefferson,
Yeah.
they're becoming one of the most lethal combinations in the league. So Kirk
Yeah.
yesterday, and it's not garbage time because I mean, were they probably playing a little softer? Sure, but it's not garbage time stats because we were still in the game.
And we've
31 of
already
41.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we've
425,
won. All right, I'll let you go. Say the stats.
31 to 41, 425, 2 touchdowns. People want to say Kirk needs to move more. Kirk avoided a sack and chucked the ball downfield at a point in yesterday's game. Man, I love what I'm seeing out of Kirk Cousins. And this year, I think you talked about it as well. The stats aren't there, but you felt like this is his best season. And I think the same thing. I think
100%.
he finally feels in control. I think he feels like the team's rallying around him. His coach is rallying around him. And I mean, that's another thing, just like Jefferson's performance. Nobody's talking about 31 to 41 and 425 and 2 touchdowns and no turnovers. Nobody's talking about that because of the defense, which is kind of nice for Kirk because he's not the one getting the finger pointing and having all like he's not the one being polarizing right now. It's that defense. And it's the defense now is it coach, is it players? That's the argument. It's not, is it Kirk or is it not? Kirk is Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson are the ones keeping this team afloat and in the playoff picture.
Yeah, 100%. Kirk, this is a whole different thing this year for Kirk Cousins. And especially, I mean, and you were talking about, the garbage time stats or whatever. The reality is the Lions don't know. We've came back from so many games against the Lions specifically. There's no garbage time stats for Kirk because there's a chance he actually goes down there and wins the game this year. And that's the biggest difference. And it's never been more apparent until after this game that we are completely riding on Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Like this team and our chances in playoffs is going to come down to Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson in our offense because our defense is just not good enough. But our offense, specifically Cousins and Justin Jefferson, they're the keys to victory. They're the keys to us being 10-3. I think at this point, and a lot of it obviously is Kirk Cousins coming down at ends of games and winning these games for us. Yeah. And honestly, I do wish there was stretches where in second quarters and third quarters that he, that our offense moved better, and it wasn't always like our offense moves best when we're down or whatever. But at the same time, like our defense is not helping our offense. If our defense was like halfway in the league of scoring, there could have probably been a lot of games where we do win by more than a score or whatever. And it doesn't have to come down to the end of the game. So it just seems so apparent now that it's just our defense is just the problem.
Yeah. And I want to tell you what, with the way the season's gone, there's going to be multi-year extension talks with Kirk Cousins at the end of the season.
I don't know how I'm feeling about that.
No, I'm not saying I don't care how we feel about it. There's going to be multi-year extension talks with Kirk Cousins after this season. Seeing how he's played,
the Vikings.
And he might, maybe it'll be a structure to where it's not going to be a $30 million cap hit, but I think that, and whether it's him reaching out or the team saying, hey, looking at where we're going to pick in the draft and we can still, draft and develop if we want, but
that's what I hope we do.
At 34, what is he, 34 years old? Probably still has another 2 or 3 good years of football left in him.
Could be more. We've seen work like Brady, Rodgers, like a lot of quarterbacks going up till 39.
And Kirk stays healthy. Knock on all the wood in the world. Kirk stays healthy.
Right,
so I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, I'm saying it's going to happen. There will be.
If we've given him
at least 2 more years added onto his contract to keep him under contract for 3 more seasons.
I'll see that. I would hope that we do pick. I hope we draft another quarterback though early. I want a young quarterback that can learn from him or whatever.
Every team should give it a shot.
Yeah, I like Kirk Cousins has proven a lot to me this year so far, but I don't know, man. He's still like, is he still that kind of quarterback that will lead you to a Super Bowl or whatever? I don't know. I think the jury's still out there to some extent, but there's no question this year of any years, he is turned into that quarterback that can lead your team to victory over and over again, especially when you're down, which is a huge difference in my opinion. I know, there's a stat from him in the last 2 years where he's been able to do it, specifically earlier in the season last year. But before that, I did not see that out of him. So, it is pretty impressive. I did want to say also that he got a grade of 91.5 on PFF, which was the highest of any player for the Vikings, even over Justin Jefferson, who I said had 91.1. So yeah, man, I mean, there's no question. Kirk's proven a lot. I feel comfortable going in the playoffs with Kirk. I would have never said that before. It's just the defense that makes me worried now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
100%.
Yep.
I'm more worried about this defense now than I've probably ever been about Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
because it's just, I mean, it's just too many mistakes. We can talk about the defense literally all day, like
Yeah.
just throwing all over us, but then we're allowing the short completions, but then all of a sudden we're still allowing the huge play touchdowns, the ones that we for some reason can never freaking get, which is also
Yeah.
annoying on
Yeah.
offense, even though the talent's there. We should have had one
Yeah.
last week with Justin Jefferson, but yeah,
But looking at the
whatever.
flip side, somebody who probably won't get a multi-year extension and might be releasing his contract early.
Damn.
Oh, there's the other up. Is running back Dalvin Cook.
And this is the running. Hey, I want to say this is the running game and not Dalvin Cook specifically. And that's because, dude, the offense was not letting him going in. He was getting absolutely blown up at the line of scrimmage before he was able to move like an inch. He got a touchdown. That was a bad fumble from him, which was kind of a bad play call mixed with him. Like at that point, he shouldn't have been stutter stepping and trying to find like a hole when you're that close to the goal line there. But so that I think that was kind of on Dalvin Cook. But it's just the run game in general has, other than when Dalvin Cook breaks like a long one or a big one here and there, he just seems to get stuffed at the line a lot.
Yeah, but also yesterday, if any Vikings fans hadn't missed Garrett Bradbury, he did yesterday. You notice Austin
And
Slotman
Darrisaw,
getting
I actually
blown off.
didn't. What happened to Darrisaw? I thought he was good to go.
No, well, he's cleared from the concussion protocol, but they're being extra cautious with him.
Okay.
So, but Blake Brandel actually, Blake Brandel did tear his MCL, so I don't think he's coming back this season, unfortunately. But that was a little injury news that came out from today. But yeah, this right here.
Ooh,
go ahead. From Kofi. I've been tough on Cook, but there was no blocking. I blame Keel for calling run plays every first down. I would agree with that. I feel like there was some poorly used run plays for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Garrett Bradbury, you noticed him missing in the run game where Schlotman was getting blown up off the line right away. Unfortunately, there was no room for Dalvin Cook. I mean, I still do feel like he's missing a step and, what have you. He had I gave him a lot of credit for that cutback he had on his touchdown run, which was nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, then of course, yeah, the line couldn't block. He's just not hitting the holes when he does get them with the power that he used to. It's unfortunate, but with all the injuries, you kind of expected it, especially since he is aging a little bit here as well. But 15 carries, 23 yards. Alexander Madison, no better, 2 carries, minus 1 yard.
Yeah, and Kofi, that's a great thing. That's a great point. Is the blaming KO for calling run plays every first down. One thing with Kevin O'Connell being a first head coach that I do notice is specifically with the run game in this game was he wants to get the run going or whatever, which it makes perfect sense. Like get the run going, it opens up the passing. But when the run's literally not working at all and you're getting absolutely nowhere, but our passing is working fantastically, as soon as I felt very confident as soon as we went away from the run and went straight to passing that we would start making some way down the field, and we were right at the end of the game. But I think that's one thing with Kevin O'Connell so far is I think, he wants to establish the run and he keeps doing that he has a hard time changing if it's not his game plan, if it's not working. Yeah. Because this was an example where it's like, we're not getting anywhere on the runs. I understand how important it is to run the ball to open up the passing game, but I don't think that's the case right now. If anything, this maybe had been an example where you should probably start passing to open up the run game. And I just felt like that was the case in here. There was a lot of first downs that we were automatically 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 12 or something. It was like, that part was annoying, but
yeah, for sure. I agree with everything you just said there about his play calling and at certain points throughout the game. Like
he's a fantastic coach. I want to keep saying that
and try something different with Delvin. Get him out in the passing game, which we talked about with Dave.
Right.
Try running him outside, just up the gut. It feels like Zimmer ball, to be honest with you, but.
And I get it because it has worked. Like the last couple of games, it's kind of have worked, but we've been getting like chunk yards or whatever, establishing the run. But I don't know. I just think there's a point where you just have to call an audible and change just go straight to passing, and then maybe sneak some runs in that. I don't know. I don't really know. Obviously, I'm not a coach, but just felt like that way to me as well.
Well, for our final up, let's talk about a few of like the backup. I mean, I don't want to say backup players, but like supporting role players that we've been missing. Adam Thielen, I want to start with him. 7 catches, 65 yards. He had the nice touchdown, the 23-yard touchdown where he shook the defender. They tried him on the 2-point conversion play that didn't work out, but Adam Thielen had some big time catches yesterday. Nice to see him finally get back in the action. Go over some other guys. KJ Osborne, 5 catches, 38 yards, and 1 touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, 6 catches. Really wish it would have been 7 for 77 yards. Obviously, the catch he should have had on the sidelines to keep that drive going in the first half was huge drop, potentially a game-changing drop, because if we keep that drive going to score, who knows how the game ends up. But nice to see some of the other, I mean, obviously with JJ having 223, it kind of is what it is, but nice seeing some of the other guys step up. Nice seeing Adam Thielen get back in the end zone. Yeah. I thought the backup receivers, second and third receivers actually played pretty well. We tried one shot to Jalen Reagor, didn't work. Obviously that was in just desperation mode. So, but yeah, it was nice to see some of those other players finally step up and get some usage. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah. Our passing game was really nice this game. And I just, that's another reason why you just wish that we just would have pushed that a little bit harder, actually, even though a lot of people have been saying the opposite for a lot of this season. But CJ Ham was actually number 3 in PFF grade for offense,
CJ Ham,
by the way,
with the nice 9-yard catch early on.
Yeah, that was nice too. He snaggled that one out of the air.
He did. Duluth boy CJ Ham,
one of
us. But yeah, man. Rookie Asezi Adamewo got in the game, had a nice tackle. Just wanted to point that one out as well.
Right.
Not much more to say.
See more of him.
Yeah. Not much more to say when it comes to this game. Defensively,
something needs to happen. Something needs to be figured out.
Yep. Kevin O'Connell, at least now he's finally saying in his press conferences, like, there's changes that need to be made, and we need to do everything we can to fix it.
Yeah, you lose to the Lions, you figure you realize shit's wrong. That's what happens. Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah. But it's just, and I do understand. I know everybody calling to fire the coach.
Donatel.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to talk about firing him because it's just not going to happen. And
right on point. Appreciate you hopping in here, by the way, Kofi.
Yeah, for sure. It is. I mean, surprising, yes, but also not, because like we said, it's late in the season. I think Kevin O'Connell also knows we don't want to shake things up too much. But I also thought in my tweet yesterday that, it always starts at the top. So if you fire him, maybe it lights a fire under the players' asses. Like, oh, nobody's safe. We got to go. But I just feel like it is a little too risky for Kevin O'Connell to do it. And I understand where he's coming from. Would it be nice to see? Yes. Do I think it would help? Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe the start, and he did say at this time, I don't see it. So maybe the start to all of it is, hey, Ed, sit him down. What are we doing? Like, sit down with him, talk for hours. Like, what are we going to do to fix this? What can we do to fix this? How can we change coverages? What can we do about the pass rush to start getting pressure? You got to get creative there. Maybe on certain downs, you keep, I don't know.
I would just tell him, like, blitz.
Neil Hunter with his hand in the dirt.
Yeah.
And take Patrick Jones or DJ Wanham and line him up on the other side next to Zadarius Smith. Move Zadarius Smith around a little bit.
I want blitzes.
Smith up, as we saw. We missed Harrison Smith in this game.
Yeah.
He's better at disguising things than Josh Metellus was. So if people were kind of concerned about Harrison Smith, don't be. He's still Harrison Smith.
Right.
So defensively, yes, things need to change for sure. I'm excited to see what we do. Like, I'm actually kind of hopeful now that it's out there and Kevin O'Connell is talking about the fact that they need to keep doing things.
We need to get to the quarterback
next week against the Colts of all teams, and don't do anything. I don't know. It's going to be a tough look.
It's the pressure. If I'm Kevin O'Connell, I would be just, you have to at least blitz on 50% of the plays or something instead of like 10%. Cause I think that is the biggest issue with our team, especially if you're already allowing big plays. You're allowing every single short pass possible. You're allowing has to be the best completion percentage in the NFL. What's going to hurt by bringing up the blitzes? I'd want to see more blitzing 100%. If Kevin O'Connell does anything, he should call for more blitzes.
And I think that's when reading this comment, I think that's kind of where my mindset goes as well. I think Kevin O'Connell wants to start with, what can I make suggestions? Can the players be better? Because like we talked about, we're talking to Wabi. he thinks it's players, not plays, which I think it's a mixture. I personally think it's a mixture of both. Wabi's
Yeah.
an elite football mind. I am just some kid sitting here in an apartment building in front
But
of a
there's
computer.
something to say about your defensive coordinator having the 32nd out of 32 worst defenses in the NFL. With the talent we have, we have Harrison Smith, Zadarius Smith, Patrick Peterson, Daniil Hunter, Eric Kendricks. These are not the talent that is the worst in the NFL. It's not. So it has to be somewhat on your defensive coordinator, and you're allowing the highest completion percentage. So
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
and the
was
most
it?
scoring.
What was
So
it? A
it's got
record
to be on
5
him.
straight games allowing over 400 yards.
I didn't even know that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that was a stat that popped up on the screen
Yeah,
yesterday.
and
It
it's
is
just
ridiculous. Yeah. So,
right.
I mean, obviously, I've been on the fire Donatel train. I'm trying to take myself off it. I'm trying to sit back and see where Kevin O'Connell
Well,
is
you're
coming
trying
from.
to be in Kevin O'Connell's shoes and see from his perspective, which, of course, when do you ever see a defensive coordinator get fired after you've been 10-3 or
I
anything
thought
like
I
that?
also saw something about that.
Like
That there
that's
was
happened before.
that there. I think 2012 Ravens season. I think they had a pretty good record and fired their defensive coordinator and won the Super Bowl. I thought I saw a
Well,
stat like that
that's the
today.
kind of balls you need. That's the kind of ball. This is Kevin O'Connell's first head coaching year, so maybe he doesn't have the balls to do that yet. But man, you got to be doing that sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And I personally, I agree with you, Kofi. Like I
I
said,
do
I'm just trying to sit
100%.
back and see if what other people are saying. Because, like I said, I don't know a lot. I'm just like I said, some kid sitting in front of a computer here. But yeah, the bend but don't break thing is ridiculous. It's not sustainable to win games, and hasn't made any changes since week 2. That's very true. He has not. Like, it's been the same vanilla defense over and over and over and over.
Even
again,
though it's not working. Like what? Because our offense and the turnovers are band-aiding the rest of the defense. We're 10-3. You don't think you need to change? Like that's the Lions game was so obvious. It was so obvious how bad this defense was, and his scheme has been.
Yeah,
And
like we
not
mentioned
even our
earlier on
offense
too,
can
it's like,
band-aid it. And
yeah, and the biggest thing for me, and like I said, I was watching Purple for the Win. I didn't say this, he did, and I 100% agree with him. Try something new, because what's the worst case scenario? You're going to give up yards, and you're going to give up touchdowns and big plays. And what have we already been doing? Giving up yards, touchdowns, and big plays. So it doesn't really matter.
Yes, and we're 10-2. We're pretty much 10-3. Shit, 10-3 now. Fuck, damn Lions. And we're pretty much clinched. We have to beat the Colts. Obviously, our Lions have to lose, but we're in the playoffs no matter what. Pretty much, it'd be terrible if we don't. So I don't know, man. Those opportunities only happen so often, especially for the Vikings. And man, you have to do something. You can't go into that offense playing the same exact defense as we've been playing this year.
Right. And I see Kofi's point with that, because I know we had kind of talked about it earlier on as well, how it's just like, yes, you're 10-3. You don't want to make whole scale changes because you're not going to change the scheme. The only thing, maybe a different coach will come in with a small like change to the mindset, maybe make it more aggressive. But also you got to err on the side too of like, this 10-3 for, like you said, for the Vikings and for a lot of teams doesn't happen often. This combination of talent on the offense, honestly, even missing like a legit number 2 receiver, you don't see this often. You don't see these type of wins, these 1-score games. They don't happen a lot. So you do almost feel like if you don't make a change on defense and you get into the first round of the playoffs and you lose as the 2 seed at home, when you're guaranteed 2 playoff games, if you lose, then you're going to be like, well, then you're going to look at Kwesi and mainly Kevin O'Connell, because it's his coaching staff. Why didn't you make a change? We all saw this coming. Like, why didn't you make the change? And it's tough. And that's
like,
why
I
would not want to be a head coach.
It is,
because Kevin O'Connell seems like a nice guy. And I just don't see him personally wanting to. I don't know. It's tough. I think it would be tough to be in that position. If it were me, I wouldn't have the heart to do it.
Right.
Which is why
we're not head coaches. I would if we're 10-3 and be like, Donatel, it's cool. It's been a good run. Not really from your help, but mostly me and my offense. But you gotta go. That's all you should do. If Kevin O'Connell, if you're watching this, just do exactly like that.
Yeah. It's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot. But at the end of the day, yes, yesterday was frustrating.
I mean, if he really wants to step up, like if he steps up and he's like, Noah, I'm going, like, I want to see this changes in the defense. Like that's something that Kevin O'Connell can do as head coach is he can take over. At least obviously he's not a defensive minded coach or whatever, but he could step in there and kind of just be that leader and just be like, no, I want to see this different. We need more pass blitzes right now. Like, I don't care. Like it's the same scheme, whatever. We don't want to change anything too big, too much, but I want to see some more pass rushes immediately this Saturday on Sunday. Like even when we're talking about this, I'm 10-3. This is a great season for the Vikings. It's been a super awesome season. And now the Achilles heel is so apparent to us that like something needs to change and we need to see that. I'm hoping this Saturday we see something different. I don't know what it is. I don't know how, but something needs to change.
Right. And Kofi here echoing a sentiment we've been saying this entire stream pretty much is like this team can win it all. Defense, yeah, exactly. Defense wouldn't need to be like stellar. We said this years ago when the Vikings were under Mike Zimmer in the heyday that the defense is great. The offense has weapons. We don't need a top 10 offensive line. We just need a top 15 offensive line, which we had like a bottom 10 offensive line. So kind of the same thing on the defensive side where this team has too much talent to squander a season like this. And all you do need is just an average defense. You need a defense that's going to hold the team to 20 some points a game. If you could hold them to 21 points a game, you could win most games because we can put up 20. We can put up more than 21
we
points.
Put 30 against the Jets, I think the Bills had scored less than 20 against them, something like that.
So it's just, I don't know.
Twice, I think.
100% agree with a lot of things that Kofi has said. It is frustrating. I don't think the firing is going to happen.
It's not going to happen. No, it's obvious.
Unfortunately, no. But I'm just trying to keep a positive because I know Kevin O'Connell said it's not in the cards right now, at least. So I'm just trying to keep a positive mindset of what can happen by keeping Ed Donatel. Yeah, and that's really the only thing is you got to get on and be like,
it's Kevin O'Connell stepping. That's the best case scenario for us. It's Kevin O'Connell stepping up and taking somewhat control of this defense. Whether it's literally just saying, hey, I want to see, 15% upstick in blitzes or something like that. Or I want to see some more press coverage, something like that. Like, hey, we need to get to the quarterback. We need to do something different. And actually, like, you gotta make these changes and force that. He needs to do something like that. That's best case scenario because Ed Donatel's not going to get fired, especially by a first-year head coach. And he's already said that. That's how we know for sure.
But you are noticing the frustration of him on the sidelines when things don't go well.
We still want to be hopeful. We want this team to be good. So like all we can really hope for is that Kevin O'Connell can do something that changes this defense in some way. So this does not happen going into playoffs. And that's all we can hope that happens. And hopefully he does.
Yeah, for sure. And as we've seen so far this year, Kevin O'Connell is great with adversity. He can handle a team with success. So I think
bounce back every single game we've lost this year.
We'll see. So. We'll see what happens. But I mean, obviously, we'll talk more about this game later on in the week here. But any other thoughts on this one before we get on to the card giveaway and then sign off for the night?
Obviously, just something has to change with the defense. It was very apparent that the defense is the Achilles heel, and I think everybody's seen that. So, and I think all fans know that. I don't know how we can expect to win a Super Bowl with our defense playing like this. So it's just simple as that. And hopefully we change. But yeah, let's jump into this giveaway. So how this giveaway works, we run this through our Instagram. And if you want to join any further future giveaways, go follow us on Instagram. It all starts by subscribing to our channel. But our Instagram username is in the description. So here we go. Here we got all the names that has entered into this. Now let's run this Justin Jefferson rookie card. Logan Gassert. Congratulations. Logan, we will send this out right away. We'll hit you up on Instagram, get all your information, email, or not email, but address, all that good stuff, and send it out to you right away.
Yeah. But all right, everybody, thanks for joining. We appreciate the viewership. Hopefully,
appreciate joining
next week. We get to talk about a division clinching win over a Colts team that is not very good
and a defense that bounced back.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of adjustments they make. We'll see how the health of the team gets throughout the week. Thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next time.
Skol Vikes.